Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Jonathan, and welcome back to the Pack Talk. In this video, we're going to go over three more teams on the team overview series. We're going to go over the Colts, we're going to go over the Jaguars, and we're going to go over the Kansas City Chiefs. Overall, you got two in the same division here. I think each of these teams are on three different levels, to say the least. The Chiefs overall are still considered one of the elite teams. The Colts are, I don't want to say up and coming, but they're right on the verge to up and coming in there, so I'm going to say that. And then the Jags are more up and coming, I would say. They're definitely up and coming. I like what the owner is committed to in Jacksonville. Be very interesting to see what Jacksonville does over the next couple of years here. Okay, so let's get started on the Indianapolis Colts. So the Colts are going for their fourth straight year with a different starting quarterback. Andrew Luck to Jacoby Brissett to Carson Wentz. And now they have Matt Ryan at quarterback, which I feel is the need that this Colts team most definitely wanted. You get a veteran quarterback presence in there. Matt Ryan's still reliable. He can still get you production at the quarterback position. Then you got Nick Foles and Sam Ehlinger as his two backups. Two interesting backup options, in my opinion, in Indianapolis. Nick Foles, Super Bowl MVP. And then Sam Ehlinger, who was drafted by the Colts, former Texas Longhorn. I don't know if he'll ever get his time. Maybe if Matt Ryan decided to retire after this year, I don't know. Or if Matt Ryan just totally sucked for the Colts and they have no other choice but to actually go with their draft pick at Sam Ehlinger. At running back, they got the notorious Jonathan Taylor, who's coming off an amazing year with the Colts. Nobody saw that coming. We all knew he was a good quarterback, but to that standard, is just unbelievable what he did last year. And then you got Nyheim Hines at the running back 2. This is where the Colts kind of fall off for me. They don't have a stud wide receiver. They're hoping that Matt Ryan turns wide receiver 1 Michael Pittman Jr. into that type of wide receiver that they can rely on the most for the most target share. They did draft a guy named Alec Pierce in the second round of this past draft. Should be interesting to see what he does. Young guys, defenses don't really know how to read them. So, it'll be interesting to see how he presents himself to the Colts. And then Paris Campbell at the wide receiver 3. At tight end, they have Mo Alley-Cox again. Just the weapons are fairly weak. Mo Alley-Cox is definitely on the low end of tight ends, and also just as a receiving player on that team, again, low end. And then you got Rodrigo Blankenship, the guy with the goggles at kicker. This is where they shine, is on their defense, in my opinion. I think this defense will get this overall team to the next step, and I have them winning the division for sure because of this. I think the Titans just fall off a tad. We'll get into Tennessee in future videos. But at defense, they have DeForest Buckner. They have Yannick Ngakoue. All these names are wild. You got Bobby Okereke, I think, and then you got Shaquille Leonard, Kenny Moore II, Nick Cross, Julian Blackmon, and they picked up Stephon Gilmore, which I totally forgot they actually acquired him. That's a pretty big pickup if he can stay on his star-studded track. So this team overall is definitely, like I said, right on the verge of up and coming too. They are there. I think they're more there than up and coming, though. I think all they really need is another wide receiver that can, be more reliable. And the Colts would definitely be a threat to the overall league. If I had to pick a top 3 in fantasy, easily Jonathan Taylor at 1. I would go Colts defense as my second pick, and then Matt Ryan 3. Matt Ryan's not really a good fantasy quarterback in my opinion. I mean, he has his games, but overall, he's going to get you that solid average of like 20 points and not much more. He'll have maybe one game where he blows up. Other than that, you're going to get like 20 or less out of him, in my opinion. At notable, I have Rodrigo Blankenship, and then I guess you can take a spin on Michael Pittman Jr. If he does come to fruition to be a good wide receiver with Matt Ryan at the helm. Okay, next we're going to go into the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not really much to talk about this team. This team is still in rebuild mode. Second year, I would say, of their path on the rebuild here, starting with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, and then they have C.J. Beathard at at backup. Honestly, this team is probably going to finish third, if not last, in the division again. They definitely need more pieces around Trevor Lawrence, or he's just never going to turn to the quarterback that they hope. They have Travis Etienne Jr. at running back 1 currently. James Robinson is hurt. He's at the running back 2 currently in the depth chart, but it'd be very interesting to see what happens there. I know Urban Meyer was the coach, but they had Travis Etienne training to be a wide receiver. So I don't know if Doug Peterson's doing that now. Probably not. He looks like he's committed to being a running back for that team. And, we really haven't gotten a real good taste of Travis Etienne, and I'm honestly high for him on fantasy. He's my one in the top 3, but we'll get there later. Travis Etienne, James Robinson, and then at wide receiver, they got Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk got a bag for Jacksonville. He's the wide receiver 1, not the best wide receiver 1, but, he's good. He's a good wide receiver. And then you got Marvin Jones Jr., who's always been pretty dependent upon, reliable wide receiver. And then Zay Jones at the wide receiver 3. Again, another okay wide receiver, I guess. Trevor Lawrence could definitely work with that in the second year. Not every quarterback could be Joe Burrow going to his second year and making the Super Bowl. And then this is interesting. So you got Evan Ingram and Dan Arnold as the 2 tight ends on this team. But the interesting part is Riley Patterson just got cut by the Lions, picked up the other day, and now he's going to be the starting kicker for the Jaguars this season. Kind of interesting how that happens. It was very quick and fast, and they're committed to him being the kicker on this team. I got 2 people on defense that are notable, I guess. You got Josh Allen at linebacker, who did fairly well against the Josh Allen on the Buffalo Bills, and they won that game 9-6. That was a very odd game. And then you got Devin Lloyd at inside linebacker. So linebackers are okay. Everything else, though, they definitely need to work on. I didn't see any notable names on defense there. Top 3, like I said, Travis Etienne's at my 1-1, and you got Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a much better year with Doug Peterson at head coach. Doug Peterson's going to get him on the right track, and he's going to turn into that franchise quarterback, or start turning into that franchise quarterback this season. And then I got Christian Kirk if I had to pick a third. I just don't know how I feel about James Robinson, if he's how long he's going to be hurt, and if they're actually committed to him either splitting time or more on the low end of getting yards. Travis Etienne, I'm very high on. I would be very happy having Travis Etienne in my running back 2 for sure, even in a small league. Notable, again, not high, but if you want, go get James Robinson, and then the kicker, Riley Patterson. Okay, now we're going to talk about the most elite team on this list, in the Kansas City Chiefs. They are considered one of those elite teams too, because if you have Patrick Mahomes on your team, they're going to be good. But in my opinion, I think this is Patrick Mahomes' first real test for the Chiefs. When he was drafted, he was definitely given all the tools that he needed in his arsenal. With he had a good wide receiving core, he had the best tight end in the league, and Travis Kelce, and then you got a pretty dependable defense. And then you got the Michigan Michigan star Chad Henne at backup quarterback. At running back, you got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who he's going to have to show something, or they're going to definitely replace him. Injuries and just not being very productive have very hurt him. Have hurt him very much on this team. That's why I think they drafted this guy. They have Isaiah Pacheco as running back 2 listed, and then Ronald Jones, who they picked up from the Bucs, at running back 3, which Ronald Jones is definitely nearing the end of his life cycle here in the NFL. Ronald Jones, he was one of those guys you could rely on, but he's just been kind of shoved deeper and deeper into running back depth. We saw that with the Bucs last season. So here's where it gets interesting. They got rid of Tyreek Hill, or they trade Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. So now you got Juju Smith-Schuster, former Steeler, as the wide receiver 1. Then you got Marquez Valdes-Scantling at the wide receiver 2, your deep target, which they took from the Packers. And then you got Mecole Hardman, which is longtime Chief for sure now on this team at the wide receiver 3. Then, like I said, you got the best tight end in the league at Travis Kelce. And then Harrison Butker at kicker. On the defense, what's odd is this defense has names, but I feel like the defensive coordinator does not make them produce to the best of their ability. They were like second to last place, my bad, in like run defense. And it's kind of odd because they have good people on like that interior of the defense. They have Chris Jones, they have Frank Clark, Nick Bolton was pretty good. You got Willie Gay, you got Trent McDuffie, Justin Reed, and L'Jarius Sneed. All well-known names, I think. It's going to be very interesting to see how this team fares. And honestly, my hot take is, since Patrick Mahomes is going to go through these growing pains of losing Tyreek Hill, I think that's going to affect him a little more than a lot of people think. So we'll see him try to get through those growing pains of losing Tyreek. And my hot take is they could well finish third. Like I said, they have good names, but I think they could finish third because I would argue they have the worst defense in that overall division. So my top 3 fantasy would be Travis Kelce for sure, then Patrick Mahomes, and then I like Juju. I think Juju fell victim to Big Ben getting old and not being mobile, can't give him the ball, and he might have been kind of flustered being thrown to that wide receiver 1 spot as soon as Antonio Brown decided to be on his antics and leave the Steelers. I have a couple notables for sure. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is very interesting. Harrison Butker for sure at kicker, and then Clyde. I have to put Clyde there just for the point that you never know. It's the NFL. Players could have a resurgence and have a career year. You never know. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. Those 3 teams were, again, the Chiefs, the Colts, and the Jaguars. 3 different teams for sure. We're going to get back into the alphabetical format now, I guess you can say, because that was a bunch of random teams the last 2 videos now. But we're going to get back into it now. I think next video there's going to be 4 teams. I can't really do the alphabet right now, but it should probably be 4 teams. I'm going to try to get that up as soon as possible. I'll see you guys in the next one.